Hey everyone, welcome back to PEX News. We'd really appreciate your support. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel. It truly means a lot to us. Tariffs reinstated. Again, Trump's trade fight returns to the courts and the headlines. In yet another legal twist with major implications for the U.S. economy, a federal appeals court has temporarily reinstated former President Donald Trump's sweeping tariff regime, less than 24 hours after a lower court had blocked it. The ruling reignites a long simmering debate over executive power, trade authority, and the constitutional boundaries of presidential action. At stake, the cost of goods for American consumers, the stability of U.S. business operations, trade negotiations with global partners, and the extent to which a president can reshape trade policy without Congress. A rapid legal reversal. The recent decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals temporarily revives tariffs targeting dozens of U.S. trading partners, overturning, at least for now, a lower court's earlier ruling that President Trump had exceeded his authority. That lower court found Trump's tariffs unlawful, arguing the president lacked the constitutional power to declare a national economic emergency as justification for bypassing Congress. But the appeals court has called for a pause, giving itself time to review the case more fully. Trump, unsurprisingly, celebrated the appeals court's intervention and immediately called on the U.S. Supreme Court to fast-track the case. He also lashed out at the original panel of judges who blocked his tariffs, notably questioning their backgrounds, despite the fact that one of those judges had been appointed by Trump himself. Trade talks and political tensions. While the legal battle unfolds, the political and economic consequences are already rippling outward. Treasury Secretary Scott downplayed the court setbacks, stating the president maintains the right to shape the nation's trade agenda. However, he also acknowledged that talks with China, one of America's largest trading partners, have stalled. We'll likely resume discussions in the coming weeks, he said, expressing hope that negotiations would continue once both leaders re-engage. Still, the optimism was measured, and the Treasury's admission reflected the mounting uncertainty surrounding U.S.-China trade relations. This comes just weeks after the Trump administration touted progress on a broader trade agreement intended to defuse tensions and prevent further tariff hikes. With current tariffs on Chinese imports hovering around 30%, talks have slowed, and prospects for a breakthrough remain unclear. Constitutional questions and executive limits. CNN legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney Michael Moore weighed in on the legal implications, calling the current situation a familiar pattern of executive overreach. The trade court ruled these tariffs illegal, Moore said. It found that the president exceeded his authority and that declaring an emergency doesn't make it one just because the executive says so. He noted that the appeals court's decision wasn't necessarily a reversal, but rather an administrative hold, a move designed to allow further briefing and argument before a final judgment. According to Moore, this legal limbo is business as usual in high-profile policy cases, but it fuels the kind of uncertainty that can shake markets and disrupt long-term trade strategy. He criticized what he described as a pattern of erratic policymaking, tariffs being imposed, then withdrawn, then reinstated without clear direction or legislative backing. Plan A or Plan B, further complicating the administration's position, were remarks from senior White House advisors who revealed that 3 or 4 other legal avenues to impose tariffs had been considered all along. This admission has raised questions about the administration's approach. If legal alternatives existed, why weren't they pursued initially? And why invoke an emergency authority that courts were likely to challenge? Moore argued that this undercuts the administration's legal defense. You can't overextend your powers and then claim harm when there were legitimate routes available from the start, he said. That's exactly what the courts are going to be weighing. The Constitution clearly grants Congress, not the president, the power to impose tariffs and taxes. By sidestepping Congress, critics say, Trump not only bypassed legal norms, but also created long-term vulnerabilities in the administration's own arguments. What's next? For now, the tariffs are back in place, but only temporarily. The appeals court will review the lower court's decision, and it's possible the issue could make its way to the Supreme Court. But whether the High Court agrees to intervene swiftly is uncertain. In the meantime, the administration is signaling that it may pivot to new strategies that could circumvent court restrictions. Whether that means working with Congress or reviving alternative legal tools remains to be seen. What is clear is that the fight over tariffs is far from over, And as the legal dust settles, the broader consequences for trade, for consumers, and for presidential power are only just beginning to unfold.